Chapter 1. Bryce Carson never made idle threats. He wasn't the type. If he uttered the words, then it was just a matter of time before he carried them out. He could be measured by his statements. He could be judged by his actions. The Tennessee maverick was not quick to anger, but when pushed, he stood his ground, and he wouldn't have his life manipulated by an overambitious entertainment agent. Leonard Gaines was going to learn a thing or two about manipulation and deception. The young man was not happy about the events that had transpired recently. He severely disapproved of the actions of his business manager. He didn't appreciate all of the attention being directed his way. He hated having a spotlight shone on his private life. He despised the rumors circulating all around him. His decision to not have sex until marriage was a personal one, and he had not reached it lightly. Every day was an enormous struggle. Every moment a challenge. It was surprising how often the average male thought about sex. Bryce and his brothers had, in fact, had to practically rewire their thinking. Their minds so easily gravitated to the beauty of the female body and the sexual pleasure it could offer. He loved the shape and softness of the female breasts. He admired the slight curve of a woman's butt. He was a leg man, and he could easily lose his composure in the company of a leggy woman. But he hadn't. Some of his biggest temptations came from leggy brunettes in high heels. It was extremely hard to resist a woman with a delicious smile. At the beginning of his career, he had been expected to act out love scenes with attractive young actresses, which often involved lots of kissing and simulated sex. He was forced to quickly learn how to suppress his unprofessional desires and to separate his personal feelings from the job. The camera crews, film directors, and a score of other on-set personnel also helped the young actor to condition himself. Bryce Carson desperately wanted to touch the opposite sex, but if he gave in to his inclinations to kiss a beautiful, desirable woman, then his resolution would be broken, and his plans to enter his marriage as a celibate husband would be lost. He only wanted to share his body and the intimacy of lovemaking with his wife. It was something that his father had ingrained in him since early adolescence. The staggeringly good-looking actor shook the provocative images of sexy, dark-haired women with willing dispositions from his head, and he thought instead of his current predicament. He needed a wife. That was the only solution. But where could he look? How would he find her? To Bryce, the models, actresses, and other entertainment celebrities he'd encountered were not an option. Many of them partied too much, drank too frequently, or had other addictions. Bryce groaned and lifted a club soda to his lips. He was not a drinker, and quickly adopted the non-alcoholic beverage as his social drink. He thought again of his circumstance. It should not have been a problem. However, since the news broke about his current sexual status, the young actor was unable to concentrate his efforts on the 3 women he considered to be possible candidates. None of them were in the business. None of them had connections to his professional career. One woman owned a bakery shop. One woman raced sports cars. One woman was a childhood crush. He reflected on the merits of each of them, but quickly dismissed the total idea of marrying one of the 3 as ludicrous. What did he really know about any of those women? He had only dated them casually. He had been more focused on his acting career at the time. Bryce checked out the huge nightclub. It was packed. He was amazed at how quickly he'd been able to throw together a party. Social media was the perfect tool for orchestrating a pop-up party. It allowed Bryce Carson to host the event without a lot of planning. No one knew the reason for the party. Some speculated that perhaps it was the actor's birthday. Others assumed it was just another night of excessive living that the Hollywood celebrities were used to. He was known for hanging out with crowds of beautiful people. He was seldom ever spotted alone. He had the reputation of being the Notorious Bachelor, but now people were questioning whether he was truly a playboy. Of course, he had been seen with the most eligible bachelorettes in Hollywood, but he never claimed any of them as his girlfriends. There was never a mention of a salacious affair with a supermodel in the tabloid news. His photo was not plastered on the fronts of gossip papers, nor was his name linked to some type of scandalous behavior. No hint of rebellion was associated with the name Bryce Carson. Instead, the Oscar nominee was photographed at ribbon-cutting ceremonies. He was seen holding checks for hundreds of thousands of dollars, all donated to charities, all signed with the hopes of improving the lives of those in need. Bryce designated some of his wealth to helping the tornado victims caught off guard by nature. He financed housing for flood victims who lost everything but their lives. And a cause close to his heart was giving money and support to rape victims. He knew only too well how such a crime could devastate an entire community if professional help and counseling was not immediately made available to all affected by the tragedy. Bryce swirled the ice cubes around in his glass while he considered how long he needed to remain at his own party. He had arranged the event in order to deflect attention from his sex life. The news media was still running stories about him. He even sent a crew to his hometown in Tennessee. They were snooping around, trying to dig up an old girlfriend. Good luck, he thought. He had plenty of crushes, but no high school sweetheart. He hadn't even gone to his prom. He was too busy making movies. "Dance with me," ordered a feminine voice. The unexpected interruption drew Bryce from his pensive state. "No thanks, I was just leaving," responded Bryce casually. He did not bother to look up. He instead placed the empty glass down on the counter and turned to go. The purpose of this event was not to pick up women, but to put on a performance, which was what he'd been doing for the past several hours. Bryce barely had the energy to resist another beautiful woman offering to share his bed, but he wasn't interested in a temporary sexual rendezvous. He was not interested in a feel-good moment. He was searching for something real, something meaningful. You'll excuse me," he tried to continue speaking, but was interrupted. "It wasn't a request. I want to dance," said a woman who placed her partially nude body in front of Bryce. "This is my favorite song. The least you can do is be accommodating to me." Her actions startled the young actor and caused him to look down. His eyes caught sight of a long pair of legs which were showcased in a pair of silver high-heel sandals. His words faltered as his green eyes noted the short beaded dress that was too provocative for words. He continued his upward gaze and observed a tantalizing swoop of brown cleavage and beautiful breasts. Riley Madison grabbed the stranger's hand and led him to the dance floor without further protestation. She could tell by the look of desire which lit his eyes that he was not going to resist her request.